me now is James Moore, former Conservative cabinet minister. Thanks for being here, James.
Thank you.
Let's get into this. Been a lot of political maneuvering behind the scenes and otherwise for this budget vote tonight. How do you see it? Again, it's coming. This vote probably happening in the next few hours or so.
Well, one by each, let's go through the parties. The Liberal Party, of course, all members of Parliament will show up. They're the Prime Minister of the country, and Liberals said this is the most important, federal budget in a generation. They will all be there. The Bloc Québécois has said flat out that they will all be there, and they're opposed to the budget. They were the first opposition party to do so. The Conservative Party and Pierre Poilievre, they've been the most rhetorically aggressive against the budget. And in politics, your actions have to match your rhetoric, otherwise you lose credibility. So I expect all the Conservatives to show up and to be there to vote against the budget. I think the unknown question are the 7 New Democrats. You have Don Davies and 6, frankly, New Democrats in name, but independents in terms of their action, because you have one member of their caucus, Heather McPherson, who's running for the NDP leadership. So she has to be sort of pure as the wind-driven snow in terms of her ideological predisposition. So she should probably vote against the budget. But then you have someone like Don Davies, who's the leader of the parliamentary faction. And, it could come down to something like a Filipino cultural center, which is hugely important in his very ethnically diverse riding, which may cause him to either abstain or vote maybe in favor of the budget, but probably abstain, which would give the Liberals that one extra margin. Matt Jeneroux, who is a Conservative, elected as a Conservative, who was, rumored to cross the floor, then quit politics altogether, but now he's sticking around for 6 months. It's credible to assume that he might stay away given the dynamics of things and because he may not want to have an election campaign right now. So it'll come down to a couple MPs. And the way the parliamentary vote goes, right, is the government votes in favor of it. The official opposition will vote against it. So you have the Bloc Québécois and those 22 Bloc MPs. You might have 1 or 2 Bloc MPs who might vote electronically, who might decide to refresh their Wi-Fi system while the vote is going on. So there could be some games. It's possible that the vote will fail. I think it's not probable that it will fail.
Yeah, and it certainly is going to be interesting as we watch this play out. Do you believe, I'm just curious your thoughts about it failing right now, or if it happening too, and Canadians going back to the polls, possibly for a holiday election, maybe early into the new year. Certainly doesn't feel like residents of this country have an appetite for that, but what, the political fallout could be with so much riding on the line today.
Well, the last time this happened or there was a Christmas campaign was the 2005-2006 campaign, where the official opposition, Conservatives with the other opposition parties, I was there, we brought down the then Liberal government, and there was a Christmas campaign, and people said that there was going to be hell to pay. Well, there wasn't. The Liberals lost, the opposition won, Stephen Harper became Prime Minister. Now, the difference is that there was more than a year between voting day and the election campaign. This is 6 months. Canadians have given their fellow countrymen in the election campaigns, and 6 out of the last 8 federal elections have yielded minority parliaments. Canadians expect minority parliaments to work. They expect them to be functional. They expect people to show up regardless of their ideological or regional predispositions and biases, to come to Parliament and try to make things functional and work. If the Parliament fails to do that, it fails to work, there will be a rush to the microphones later today and tomorrow to try to spin that the other guy is responsible for the campaign, because Canadians don't want an election. They expect parliamentarians to show up and be serious and studious in the way in which they approach the nation's business. So I think that anybody who loses that spin war will have a hell to pay on election day, because Canadians genuinely don't want in a campaign 6 months later. They knew what they were voting for. Should there be should there be a majority parliament or a minority parliament? That wasn't an explicit conversation in this campaign. But if we're at this, by the way, every 60 days, every 90 days, you and I are having this conversation: is the government going to fall? What about these independents? What about a Filipino cultural center, and whether or not that's going to be the hinge of this parliament? That's unsustainable. And I think in the next campaign there could be a straight up or down clear question of, do you want a majority or a minority, and do you want it to be red or blue? And let's have a real sense of sturdy parliamentary stability as we deal with President Trump and the economic challenges of the nation.
It certainly has been an interesting day in the last few days too. James Moore, former Conservative cabinet minister, thanks so much for this, James. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.